Listen up. This is important. Please listen. Thank you.
Crete to Mosul to other places. So it is a very big deal to get rid of someone.
Let me just interrupt you for a second.
Ali
Safan, I just want to interrupt you. The president is now addressing this. Let's just listen in.
Executed a flawless precision strike that killed the number one terrorist anywhere in the world, Qasem Soleimani. Soleimani was plotting imminent and sinister attacks on American diplomats and military personnel, but we caught him in the act and terminated him. Under my leadership, America's policy is unambiguous to terrorists who harm or intend to harm any American. We will find you, we will eliminate you, we will always protect our diplomats, service members, all Americans, and our allies. For years, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and its ruthless Quds Force under Soleimani's leadership has targeted, injured, and murdered hundreds of American civilians and servicemen. The recent attacks on U.S. targets in Iraq, including rocket strikes that killed an American and injured 4 American servicemen very badly, as well as a violent assault on our embassy in Baghdad, were carried out at the direction of Soleimani. Soleimani made the death of innocent people his sick passion, contributing to terrorist plots as far away as New Delhi and London. Today we remember and honor the victims of Soleimani's many atrocities, and we take comfort in knowing that his reign of terror is over. Soleimani has been perpetrating acts of terror to destabilize the Middle East for the last 20 years. What the United States did yesterday should have been done long ago.
Yes.
A lot of lives would have been saved. Just
Yes.
recently, Soleimani led the brutal repression of protesters in Iran, where more than 1,000 innocent civilians were tortured and killed by their own government. We took action last night to stop a war. We did not take action to start a war. I have deep respect for the Iranian people. They are a remarkable people with an incredible heritage and unlimited potential. We do not seek regime change. However, the Iranian regime's aggression in the region, including the use of proxy fighters to destabilize its neighbors, must end, and it must end now. The future belongs to the people of Iran, those who seek peaceful coexistence and cooperation, not the terrorist warlords who plunder their nation to finance bloodshed abroad. The United States has the best military by far anywhere in the world. We have the best intelligence in the world.
Woo!
If Americans anywhere are threatened, we have all of those targets already fully identified, and I am ready and prepared to take whatever action is necessary. And that in particular refers to Iran. Under my leadership, we have destroyed the ISIS territorial caliphate. And recently, American Special Operations Forces killed the terrorist leader known as al-Baghdadi.
Yes.
The world is a safer place without these monsters.
Yes.
America will always pursue the interests of good people, great souls, while seeking peace, harmony, and friendship with all of the nations of the world. Thank you. God bless you. God bless our great military, and
Yes.
God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Thank you.
President not taking questions. This is his first formal response to the killing of Qasem Soleimani. I want to bring Ali Safan back in, CEO of the Safan Group, former FBI counterterrorism agent, and Kelly Magsamen, former National Security Council Director for Iran, who is now the Vice President for National Security and International Policy at the Center for American Progress. Kelly, you, both of you have spent time in government service, but Kelly, one thing that's very important that you would have known at the National Security Council, that the current National Security Council would know, is that you can't actually go in and kill somebody on the basis of what they might do, or what they have done in the past. You've got to have some justification for the threat that they pose. The administration has stated that there was a threat and that American lives were at stake. And there's some people in Congress saying we need to know what that justification is, because killing Qasem Soleimani is a big deal. It is a big escalation in tensions between the United States and Iran, and it could lead to more lives being lost. How do we handle understanding what threat he posed to Americans that would have justified this action?
Yes, it's going to be very important, the kind of intelligence that the administration shares with Congress now. I think it's going to have to make the case that essentially Qasem Soleimani was planning something on a level that has been different in the past. I mean, Qasem Soleimani has had plans on the shelf to attack Americans across the region for quite some time. The question for the administration was, were these plans being operationalized in an imminent way that justified taking this step? And that's going to be a really tough hurdle, I think, to clear through the intelligence. So the administration is going to have to make that case to Congress. It's also important to understand that whether or not the administration feels that this is going to actually make us safer, to make Americans more safe in the region. It's clear that Iran is going to respond. I think their response will unfold over time and in very asymmetric ways, things that we don't expect. So the real question is, to go to Senator Murphy's earlier point, is are we safer now as a result of the president's action?
Let me ask you, Ali Safan, you have written about the capture and deaths of Osama bin Laden and Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, leaders of non-state organizations that perpetuate terror. Is it different with Qasem Soleimani? Is he, because Donald Trump said his reign of terror has ended, but Qasem Soleimani has the resources of the Iranian government behind him. He has now been replaced within hours by his deputy, who's been at his side for about 20 years. So does something end because Qasem Soleimani is gone?
Well, Iran will miss the charisma of somebody like Qasem Soleimani, but we don't know how Ismail Qaani, what he will do and how popular he will become and what he will and how he will retaliate. I think his reputation is also on the line. The president mentioned that we're in a safer place and a safer world today because of Qasem Soleimani's death. I don't believe so. I think we changed the rules in the Middle East totally, and the Iranians, through what's called their axis of resistance now, has to retaliate because someone who established that axis, who led it, who organized it around the Middle East is dead. And if they don't do anything about it, they will lose a lot of credibility among their people and their followers. There are hundreds, thousands of followers that believe in the leadership of Qasem Soleimani in Yemen, in Iraq, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan. And Iran can use them to retaliate against the United States. Ali, you and I spoke before about Iran a lot, especially when we did our report, the Iran Playbook.
Yeah.
And Iran's strategy is not a conventional strategy. Iran's strategy is a symmetrical strategy, and Qasem Soleimani built a network of proxies around the Middle East that Iran and that Ismail Qaani can use today in their retaliation against the United States. Now, what is the plan? What is the strategy? What is the policy of the United States? If Iran starts using the Houthis against our interest in Yemen, or Hezbollah against Israel, or Al-Fatimiyun al-Zainabiyun in Pakistan and Afghanistan, or tomorrow Al-Hashd al-Shabi, the Popular Mobilization Force, if they declared resistance against the United States occupation of Iraq and force the Iraqi government to legislate the exit of United States troops from Iraq. What do we do? What is the policy of the United States? Let's go beyond the rhetoric. The rhetoric sounds good on camera, but I think we have no idea of what the policy is. And by the way, Mr. President, his name is Soleimani, not Soleimani.
So he had a whole new
Soleimani,
Soleimani.
Who
He kept
cares?
calling him. I love that.
He was a ruthless
Kelly, let me ask
dictator.
you
He was a
something. There's a
tyrant.
strategic matter that is going to matter to a lot of Americans right now, and that is oil. The price of oil is up by 3% today, and that's American oil, by the way. That has nothing to do with the Middle East. But Iran always brings up its ability to control access to about a third of the world's oil that goes through the Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest point, it's about 21 miles wide, and Iran has constantly threatened that it will attack. It'll mine the waters. It may attack those ships. America, once in a while, says we will flag these as American ships. So if Iran attacks it, that is seen as an attack on American ships. Play this out for me. Is there danger to oil flow, and could a hot war start in the Persian Gulf?
I think it's actually more likely that we'll see similar attacks to what we saw last year against the Saudi oil field. So less really around the Strait of Hormuz, although that's clearly a possibility. But I think that the Iranians will also try to demonstrate once again that they can reach the Saudi oil infrastructure and maybe oil infrastructure around the region. So I think we should expect to see something like that. It was clear they were sending a message last year around that, about their capabilities. Whether they shut down the Strait of Hormuz, that would be a major international provocation. I suspect they will not move to do that, just because it wouldn't be in their own interest in terms of moving oil supplies, but certainly they will try to make their point known.
Thanks to both of you, Kelly Magsamen and Ali Soufan. I appreciate it. Joining me now is MSNBC's Ayman Mohyeddin. He's the co-host of Morning Joe First Look. He's reported extensively from the region. And Ayman, you're keeping tabs on what is developing right now. For those people expecting an immediate response or a terrorist attack somewhere, that's not likely how this is going to play out with Iran.
Yeah, that's the initial assessment that we're getting from the region. In fact, some people are kind of describing it as the 3 days, or the 3 Ds rather, the decision day of taking the strike, the day after, which is where we are now, and then the decade after. So the question now becomes, okay, well, Iran has been able to withstand this strike. They're obviously going through a period of national mourning. We're starting to get some sense of how the regime is responding with the messaging. You've heard from the incoming the new Quds Force commander saying that saying to people, be patient, American bodies will be seen all across the Middle East. And Iran is in this to play the long game. And you get a sense as well from a lot of the Arab diplomats that I've been speaking to in the region. They are very concerned, not about what Iran is going to do today or tomorrow, but how they strategically position themselves, plan to carry out some kind of response. Everyone I've spoken to is saying Iran will respond.
And let's just clarify this, because Soufan and I were just talking about this. Iran has remarkable influence in a number of countries around the Middle East, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, in Bahrain, in Yemen. There's Iranian influence all over the place there. This is not, Iran's habit has not been to show up somewhere else where they have no influence and try something.
You're talking about actually Iran as a state actor here, but keep in mind there are other pieces of evidence or investigations that have suggested Iran has been involved in attacks in Argentina. They've certainly tried to do things through their proxies in countries in Europe.
Right.
So they certainly have the capability of doing that. The question really here is, will they use their proxies, or will they respond directly under their own name, under their own flag? And I think this is what a lot of people are waiting to watch. No one can predict what they're going to do. And there's two aspects to this. One, September 14th, Iran carried out the attacks, according to a lot of people, and certainly the Saudi assessment, against the Saudi oil facility in Saudi Arabia. For a lot of people, that was a game changer, because they felt that was a direct Iranian attack on an Arab country. And so for them, that showed that they're willing to carry out those attacks. The other aspect of this is what the Iranian foreign minister said several months ago, essentially saying that America cannot have the monopoly on unpredictability. This was an unpredictable act by the United States to kill Qasem Soleimani. America does not have the monopoly on behaving unpredictability. And he made it very clear that unpredictability from both sides results in chaos. And that is the position that the Iranian government is now going to take, which is, you've been unpredictable. We now have a right to be unpredictable in the way that we respond when and how we choose to do so. And I think that's why everybody in the region is bracing for this type of chaos.
Ayman, thanks very much for your continued coverage of this. And of course, it will. You're going to be on, I think, for the next 72 hours on TV, helping us understand this a little bit better. better.
I'm going to try to. I don't know if anyone can understand it, but we're going to certainly try to with our coverage. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're in uncharted territory.
Eamon Mohiddin is the host of Morning Joe First Look right here on MSNBC. Ali Safan, by the way, who we were just talking to, is the CEO of the Safan Group and a former FBI counterterrorism agent. Kelly Maximin, former National Security Council Director for Iran, now the Vice President for National Security and International Policy at the Center for American Progress. Okay, coming up, members of Congress, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, are questioning President Trump's decision to carry out the airstrike that killed Iran's top general without first notifying congressional leadership or briefing them in the immediate aftermath. We're looking at the breadth of presidential power when dealing with a foreign adversary. You are watching MSNBC.
Once more, this guy should have been taken out a long, long time ago. Will it make things safer on a global international scale? Probably not. But what it will do, it will tell those idiots over there that we're not going to take this stuff laying down. You know, whenever you provoke, the way that they have provoked us, I'm surprised that something major hadn't already occurred. I really am, and the president has been walking around circles towards trying to go at this in a peaceful, diplomatic way. And whenever you're dealing with such evil, pure evil, sometimes you can't sugarcoat it, and you just have to deal with it on a one-to-one level. And I feel like that's exactly what the president done today. Regrettably, in trying to prevent a war, stop a war, because it's obvious that these idiots are dead set towards wanting a war. You keep in mind, these people have been at war with each other for thousands and thousands of years. That's the only thing that they can think of is hostility and violence and barbaric, heathenistic, cruel, insensitive. I mean, these people are still riding camels, for God's sakes, man. They're still getting around on camels in the 21st century. God bless America. Shalom.